What's going on, everyone? And Microsoft has announced some pretty big news earlier today, possibly yesterday, depending on when it's uploaded. But in case you missed out, and I don't know how you might have missed out, but Microsoft has announced that they are acquiring Activision Blizzard, the company behind things such as, the little franchise known as Call of Duty, Overwatch, World of Warcraft. Yeah, those guys. And I kind of wanted to make this video. I know there's plenty of videos and people out there speaking about what this means, but I kind of wanted to make my own video to share my thoughts and how I feel about it. Kind of wanting to branch this out or break it down into three particular sections. One, how I feel about it in terms of what it means for the games. Two, what I hope to see when it comes to the studio culture. And three, what do I think, how this may affect PlayStation in some regards, because whenever Microsoft makes big moves like this with Xbox versus PlayStation, you can't help but wonder if PlayStation will retaliate in some form of way. I know that's silly to say, but best way I could put it. So starting off with, how do I feel with the news? I'll be honest, like, outside of the shocking part of, oh my gosh, this is happening, I kind of don't care too much. When they acquired ZeniMax, that was pretty wild because I like Elder Scrolls. I got back into the Doom franchise when they did the reboot, and then shortly afterwards, when that released with Doom Eternal, that's when I was playing it back to back, as well as Wolfenstein and Prey were pretty good. I needed to hop back into Dishonored, but needless to say, I had more interest in the software under Bethesda ZeniMax. When it comes to Activision Blizzard, I'll be honest, I don't know the last time I was excited for a COD. Well, I actually do. The last time I was hugely into COD was probably Black Ops 1. So that was way back in 2010, 2011. I had to look into it. But that was the last time I was heavily invested into Call of Duty. I know they have other things like StarCraft. I'm not into StarCraft, World of Warcraft. I think I logged in to that for an hour or less over the years that's been out, so there's my interest there. And Overwatch, I had some interest, more so whenever I had friends playing it. It's one of those games where I might look into it to play with friends, but no real interest. But with this acquisition, I will say what's nice about it is, and it's definitely, we know this is definitely the reason Microsoft is doing such acquisitions lately and buying so many people, is the benefit it'll bring to Game Pass. The reason I haven't played Call of Duty in quite some time really is that I just don't think the asking point of 60 per every year that Call of Duty comes out, I'm just I don't really care. I'm not about to drop 60, 70 for another Call of Duty, which multiplayer is basically the same as the last one. From my perspective, I know there's little small changes, but there's so many similarities. And campaign mode, that's probably 10 hours or less, and whether or not Zombies or Spec Ops works day one or not. So, but with this acquisition, now I can play. Now I may check out the Call of Duty campaign once Modern Warfare comes to Game Pass, like Cold War. I may finally check those out. Infinity Warfare, I believe. I've been always interested in that, but I still couldn't bring myself to buy it just for the campaign. So with the games coming to Game Pass in the future, I definitely see myself trying to franchise out again, at least when it comes to the campaign. I don't think I'm gonna switch to, okay, Call of Duty's my best shooter now, because there's a lot of reasons why I don't play Call of Duty. It's mainly with the community aspect of it. I don't like campers. I know that's just the name of the game, but I don't like campers. There's so many times I try to hop back into Call of Duty only to deal with campers. So I'm making this part a little long because I still got to speak about what it may mean for the business overall. But yeah, overall, just to sum up how I feel about the acquisition, it's crazy that it's happening. Let me put it that way. Am I over the moon about it? Am I about to start singing the high praises of Call of Duty all of a sudden, even though I haven't really invested heavily into the franchise since probably 10 plus years now? Definitely not personally. And I know they have other franchises, I should say, like Spyro and Crash, but we'll definitely see. Now, transitioning over to the studio culture, not to go fully into detail, but within the previous months, a lot of things came out regarding Activision Blizzard when it came to sexual harassment and other ways they treated their employees, namely women, with the type of culture they had is being disrespectful. A lot of people were having issues with either management harassing them or reporting it to HR, and HR being more on the side of the higher ups than they were with the employees, which you're kind of expected would be the other way around, but here we are. So my main hope out of this is that Microsoft actually comes in and clean house, because making an acquisition at this time in terms of that studio's history is pretty big, and you don't want to acquire them with so much baggage per se. And if I doubt that they're not going to do anything, because that would be PR suicide if you're like, we spent all this money to buy them. We even, Phil Spencer himself even kind of spoke out against the allegations and the controversy surrounding them. We're not going to do anything. That's where it would be weird in a sense that they don't do any significant changes. That said, though, there was a quote in the article that pretty much confirms hey, they're going to be doing some internal working and reworking. And the quote is, "We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard." And there's more into it. I linked down below the article if you want to read the full source to it. But it is safe to say that they will actually be cleaning house when it comes to management and a lot of people are wondering if Bobby Kotick, the current CEO, is going to be removed from the company. And I've seen a few tweets already saying that that's essentially what's going to happen. At the moment, that's not happening since the deal is not finalized. So Microsoft really can't do anything because they don't own the company. It's similar to what happened with ZeniMax. They announced the deal, but they're saying until then, the studio is independent, or the publisher is independent from us, I should say. So there's really not much we can do in that regards. But I think it's safe to say the writing is on the wall for Bobby Kotick in terms of him being let go. I know some people are saying, oh, it sucks because he's gonna leave with a golden parachute and he's not really getting what's, his. But I'm just like, sometimes you just pay him off and get him out. Let's not look at it from how much is he benefiting from it, and more so look at in terms of how the employees are benefiting for it, because you don't want to go into a job and basically just deal with so much outside of the actual work that you signed up for, So that's where, hey, you guys do some good stuff for the employees, and I really hope the studio thrives from it, and I hope the people are able to go into a better position because of that. Now, another thing I want to speak about in terms of studio culture is, for one, is Call of Duty going to remain multi-plat? I know the discussion is like, you spend $70 billion not to turn it exclusive, and then I'll say I was in the same mindset when it came to Bethesda, ZeniMax. I was saying you wouldn't drop so much money on these franchises not to have it locked to your ecosystem because of the pull it can have in terms of people that are highly into that. But I think it's safe to say that the studios, or how can I put it, like Call of Duty itself is massive. I would say to an extent even bigger than Skyrim, Elder Scrolls, in the sense that they put out one every year. So, and they're always selling hugely. A lot of people are always picking it up. So it's safe to say Call of Duty is a pretty massive franchise IP. So a part of me is thinking, if you make it exclusive, that's a huge pull to get people into your ecosystem. The same back to where, during the 360 era, Microsoft had the marketing rights to Call of Duty with timed exclusive from DLCs and other types of content, which eventually moved to PlayStation in terms of exclusives. And even in that situation, it was always multi-plat. So of course it's still sold on Xbox, but going from timed exclusives to marketing deals to, hey, you might have to get an Xbox, you might have to get a PC, you might have to sign up for xCloud streaming to play Call of Duty in the future outside of Warzone, if they want to treat that as a legacy title as they've done with ESO and Fallout 76. They're saying, hey, get you an Xbox and that. So that's a massive pull. So honestly, I can go either way in terms of what they would do. Am I in a certain side of the camp? Not entirely. Like, I'm not making money off of it myself, so they keep it everywhere, cool. If they keep it exclusive, or they make it exclusive, cool, along with other franchises under their belt. And I also wonder if anything will change, really. Call of Duty going to stay a annual franchise, or are they going to finally decide, like, hey, let's give this franchise a rest for a year, for example, to make an even bigger splash on the next iteration. Hey, we got all these studios making Call of Duty, but since we're under, Microsoft, which has its own form of revenue, and Xbox that has so many other studios underneath them now, maybe in terms of like the studio itself, independently, thinking we don't need to rely on Call of Duty to keep the business afloat, to say the least, So with that type of mindset, maybe they would move to a Call of Duty every 2 years instead of every year, or every 3 years, who knows? So that's what I'm really looking forward to see if anything changes, because for one, part of me doesn't really like all these acquisitions unless you're actually willing to make some change, and it's not just it's the same, but now it's only here. So if you guys aren't really willing to make any significant changes and you're just changing who owns it and where it's located, it's not really too appealing, I should say, for me. But that's just me personally, So I would really, as I said, I'm looking forward to see if anything changed. Toys for Bob was behind the guys that did, I believe they did the Spyro reboot or remakes. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I know they did Bandicoot 4, so it'll be interesting to see if that studio goes back to working with those type of games. I believe they were moved to a support studio for Warzone. We'll have to look further into that to see if it was like a permanent thing or if it was for, one season and they will eventually create more games. But that being said, with the news now, it makes me wonder, like, hey, will they move back to being a studio to focus on Spyro and Crash? A lot of people saying, we need Banjo back. And I'm just like, seeing what they've done with things like Crash and Spyro, they could do the same thing with Banjo now, or Conqueror, or maybe even other IP from Rare, or they can make their own IP. We don't always have to keep going back to revival of franchises. Not that, that's bad either, but there's a lot of options here. And like I said, for, Ravensoft or High Moon Studios, Hammer, maybe those guys can branch out and do their own IPs as well, but only time would tell. So just to sum up this section, I hope there's significant shift when it comes to management, because the stories we heard, as I said, nobody wants to go into work and have to worry about anything outside of their job in terms of focus on making games, writing stories, being creative. You don't have to deal with harassment and just people being vile and just terrible while you're just trying to do your job. What does this mean in terms of studio culture, in terms of who makes what games? Will Call of Duty stay annual? Will it stay multiplayer? Would it actually become exclusive? And yeah, that's about it for this section. And the last thing I want to talk about is how would Sony react? I know some people say, it's not always, Sony has to tit for tat, whatever, things like this, but Call of Duty, it is one of those massive franchises. I believe Benji Sales put out a tweet discussing how over the holiday season, Call of Duty was huge. And that means a lot in the sense that people are like, man, Vanguard is pretty bad. It still sells so much. People say Call of Duty is declining. It still sells a lot. It's probably declining for Call of Duty. I mean, Call of Duty used to sell 20 million, now it's selling 15. It's doom and gloom, is over. I'm just like, no, those are still high numbers for that franchise or gaming in general. So I wonder if they made it exclusive. Not saying Sony would fail. I don't think anyone realistically thinks, it's over for Sony. They're gonna fail and close their door. That's not gonna happen. Let's be honest. Like, there's so many third-party franchises out there. They still have their own exclusive. But that being said, though, people cannot ignore the fact that Call of Duty is so huge. So huge in the sense that it sells better than their own first party. And not saying Sony's first party is bad or anything like that. We know it's not bad, but like I said, Call of Duty is always selling. I think Spider-Man may have been top seller compared to them because it's Spider-Man, but for a lot of first party games, they sell well, but they're not making Call of Duty numbers. And that's not to also mention how Call of Duty, not saying PlayStation doesn't have multiplayer games, but a lot of their first party games are single player story driven games. And what that means is that after the initial sell, unless there's DLC, there's no extra revenue coming in off of the game. Whereas with Call of Duty, as much as people hate it, microtransactions are a thing. So people buy Call of Duty, microtransactions, there's Warzone, etc. So that's that. Call of Duty is a game that gives on the initial release and continues to give. And losing something like Call of Duty for PlayStation is pretty huge because, as I said, that's that constant flow of revenue. And I know they have Fortnite, I know there's Apex Legends, Rocket League, and other massive multiplayer games on PlayStation, so it's not the end of the world. But like I said, this is still a pretty huge deal because Call of Duty is a huge revenue generator on console space. It is a revenue generator. So I am really curious to see how Sony will approach this. Will they make acquisition studios of their own? Will they announce exclusive deals with like EA or Ubisoft? I know Ubisoft is already putting Rainbow Six on Game Pass. They're bringing the Ubisoft subscription to Xbox first, and I think exclusive. It could be timed like with EA Play, I believe, which was timed at one point. But there's some questions. There's a lot of questions, and I think it's safe to wonder what they will do. Like I said, I keep seeing comments saying like Sony doesn't have to do anything, they'll be fine. And I'm just like, no one's saying they won't be fine. That's not the point. But what I'm getting at is that this is a hit. This is a huge hit to Sony if, Call of Duty doesn't remain multiplayer after a while, because every year a Call of Duty comes out, every year somebody's buying it, every year somebody's dropping money on the multiplayer side. That's that continued income. People forget that third-party games is where a lot of the revenue comes in for these console manufacturers, specifically Sony and Microsoft. Nintendo, they're standing in their corner, and Mario is their money maker right there. And so that's where I would say they're the exception. But Microsoft and Sony, like, they rely so heavily on third-party games in terms of making money. They're exclusive sell, but third parties make up a huge amount of that revenue as well. So this video is pretty long, so I kind of wanted to summarize things real quick. That one, this is crazy that it's happening, similar to the ZeniMax deal. I'm not going to turn into a huge COD guy just because of it, because like I said, COD's got to do a good amount before they bring me back to the franchise. But having it in Game Pass means I could check out at least the campaign and the horde modes without having to drop 60-70 every time a new Call of Duty comes out. I'm hoping that the studio culture is improved by a drastic amount and people can go back to enjoying games and they don't have to worry about being on strike. Bobby Kotick, get him out. I don't know how many times I have to read a story about, employees were laid off, but, the CEO got a bonus. Like, get him out. There's no better way to say, like, just get him out. I don't care if he's going to leave with a huge amount of money in his bank account. Just get him out so someone else could come in and be a better leader for these studios. And for PlayStation, I'm curious to see what they're going to do in this regard. Again, I just want to really emphasize this because I know some people, like to hear one thing and say another. But I'm not saying Sony's dead. No one's saying that. I don't think they're dead in the water. They have God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man. Like, they have their franchises. Definitely. There's still huge third-party games on their platform as well. But just like Madden, just like FIFA, Call of Duty is a huge third-party game that a lot of people buy PlayStations for just to play. So that's about it. This is my first video of the year. I was not expecting this to be my first video of the year, but I don't think anybody was expecting this news to drop. So yeah, I'm gonna cut it here, and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Oh, and a little plug here, check out Doomsayer's channel, Doomsayer's Network, where we have a podcast every Friday around like 6:30 Eastern time. So check us out this Friday, where we're gonna be discussing other topics, and namely I discussed today. So I'm gonna cut it here and talk to you guys later. Also, I forgot the biggest thing of this acquisition is that we will now hopefully maybe be able to play Candy Crush on the Xbox Series X consoles at 4K 120 FPS, putting all 12 T-flops of power to work there. So really looking forward to that one.